Alright, so welcome to our lecture for today on statutory construction. So today we will be delving on what is construction ordinarily in the legal sense. We have already tackled about what the law is or what statutes are. How can one be treated as a statute? How does a statute come into being? So now we will delve into the chunk of the matter when it comes to the subject, which would be construction. So the subject is statutory construction. So how do you do that? How do you construe as how we call it? And first we have to go into the definition of what construction is. Now, take note, this is in the legal sense, no? Hindi to construction na like in your engineering or in your building kung saan may magtatayo ka. Actually, in the legal sense, this is the reverse. No, you're not trying to build when you say you are construing the statute. You're actually deconstructing it in order to extract the actual intention behind the law. So, sir, paano intention behind the law? Ordinarily, because these laws have their authors, their framers, they formulated the law in such a way as to address a certain purpose. And by addressing those certain purposes, they have formulated the law in order to come up with their expression of what it is supposed to mean. So the expression would be the letters, no? And what we derive out of it would be the meaning. So when you derive the meaning, that is your interpretation. But if you go a little bit further and you derive the true intent, the spirit behind the law, that is what you call as construction. So in one case, Caltex versus Palomar, the Supreme Court stated that construction is the art or the process of discovering the intention of the authors of the law with respect to its application in a given case. Okay? So, take note that laws do not operate in a vacuum. They ordinarily apply. No, they should apply to a certain set of facts or scenario or circumstances. And how it applies and to derive the true intent of how it should apply is what we call as construction. Now, sir, so generally, we always construe. The answer is no. There is no room for construction in a number of cases decided by the Supreme Court. We should not construe when there is no ambiguity. That's why in Caltex versus Palomar, the Supreme Court stated that there is construction when the law as applied in a certain case has not explicitly provided for how it applies for that certain scenario. So hindi mo makita kagad. There is ambiguity there. There is doubt as to how it should apply with the law. And that is why we resort to construction. So, yung sinabi natin kanina, there should be ambiguity. before construction begins in the legal sense. Paano kung wala ambiguity, sir? So, we just apply it. The answer is yes. Whatever the law provides, we apply, following what we call as the verba legis rule. It is the shortened version of the maxim verba legis non est recedendum. From the words of the law, we should not depart, or we should not deviate. Okay, so kung ito na yung sinabi ng batas, then we just have to follow it. And clear naman, nag-a-apply sa certain set of scenario or certain set of cases or facts, then we apply it as is. Pero kung hindi tayo sure kung paano siya mag-apply or talagang mag-a-apply, then we resort to construction. Now, sabi nga natin kanina, sir, may difference ba between construction and interpretation? Normally, or ordinarily, these terms are interchangeable. Meaning, you may see the Supreme Court using interpretation in one case pertaining to construction, or they just use the word construction. However, technically, there is a material distinction. In interpretation, what is drawn out from the words or the expression given by a certain set of laws is the true meaning of the words or expressions. The literal meaning. What it actually means. When it says water, then water. However, when we go to construction and we go further back, no? A step further into construction, then we do not just actually look at the literal meaning of the words, but we draw out, as what authorities would call it, warranted conclusions on the true purpose behind the law or the true spirit behind the law. So, let's say for example, the term water. What is the interpretation of the term or word water? Water is basically a state of matter. Diba? So, there's solid, there's liquid, there's gas. And liquid can sometimes be interchanged into water. It can also pertain to water as in all bodies of water. However, if we go into, let's say, the law on piracy, and it talks about waters, we do not just look into all bodies of water, but we construe it to mean waters which are navigable using the rules on construction. Okay? So, by interpreting, water means bodies of water. However, if we go into another or a step further into the analysis, to construe the law on piracy when it relates to waters, then it means navigable waters. Okay? So, hindi lang basta body of water. A puddle can be said to be a body of water. You know? A very, yung creek sa may Menjola. However, kung yung creek sa Menjola is punong-puno ng basura at essentially para na siyang land na natatapakan at hindi na dumadalo yung tubig, then by applying the law based on the construction, then those waters cannot be said to be subject to the laws of piracy because they are not navigable waters. Okay? So, by construing via the interpretation, we go a step further. we draw warranted conclusions based on the purpose of the law, which we can get from the framers, no? Or the meaning of the law as how the framers would like it to be. Okay? So, what are rules of construction? So, these are tools which we use to ascertain legislative intent. And it helps resolve cases when the law is ambiguous and hindi natin makuha, we cannot reasonably ascertain what it truly wants to point us or to say to us without relying to any aid of construction. Now, one author would say, no, that actually construction in essence is to correct, no, or to give light to bad legislation, because authors would say that a good law would not need construction. It would exactly say what it wants to say without us looking into any other sources in order to derive its true meaning or purpose. Pero as we know, no, our legislators are imperfect, if not deficient for some of them, no, na hindi naman talaga sila trained in the art of legislation. They do not even have enough aptitude for the law, no? Some of them, I'm not saying all of them. And so, ito na yung tools natin para kahit papano, sige nga, iklaro natin kung anong gusto mong sabihin. Parang, pag sumagot kayo sa exam, tapos, hindi ko maintindihan, no, kung anong gusto nyong sabihin sa exam. Sometimes, I get context clues, and that can be loosely defined as a rule of construction. Okay? Sige. So, it is used to clarify and not to defeat legislative intent. Meaning, the tools or the rules of construction only mean to elucidate further what the law actually wants to say. Okay? Hindi pwedeng gagamitin mo siya to defeat or to militate against what the law actually wants to deliver. Okay? The resulting construction cannot go beyond the intent. It cannot expand the law. Okay? The resulting interpretation, the resulting construction cannot go beyond the intent. Alright? Now, it usually involves a general rule to be considered when construing the statute involved. So, one of these very famous general rules in trying to read into a statute would be the pro reo doctrine. Okay? If you have had your criminal law 1 and 2, then you would know, or you should know, you're expected to know the pro reo doctrine. In dubio pro reo. When there is doubt, rule in favor of the accused. Okay? Or the construction which is more favorable to the accused should lie in favor of him. Okay? If the law is subject of 2 interpretations or 2 constructions, one which is more favorable should be the one used in his favor or her favor. Okay? So, yun yung mga rules of construction. They are generally policies that we instill in the law in order as a limiting standard. It's like your sufficiency of standard test in political law. When uh, in a certain set of laws, there is a policy to be followed. There is a rule to be followed. So, one such case would be the Pro Rio Doctrine. Another one, another basic one would be your labor law constructions. No? The general rule in labor law would be that when there is doubt in the law or even in the evidence, then the interpretation that is in favor of labor should be favored. Okay? Or should be applied. Alright? So, that should be clear, no? That should be clear. And normally, these rules of constructions, these general policies that the law instills into this set of laws, can be said to be an encapsulation of the legislative intent or the spirit of the law. Okay? And it also gives out both the purpose and the meaning. Sir, hindi ba magkaiba yung purpose and di ba pareho lang yung purpose and meaning? Hindi po pareho yon. Magkaiba yon. The purpose generally is the driving force why the law was enacted. Let's say example natin kanina, the law on piracy. No? The law on piracy. Why was the law on piracy created? It was to address the problems during the Spanish period and during the early US period, or during the colonization era, in the Philippines, wherein pirates were very rampant in our bodies of waters, no? Bodies of water. They would hijack vessels. They would basically rob them, no, of their cargo and all that. So, the formulation of the law on piracy was to address this specific problem. And so, that is the purpose of the law. So, meaning ngayon, pag binasa mo ngayon yung law on piracy, you go into the purpose. Ano ba purpose nito? It is to avoid theft or robbery or ransacking or plunder in the high seas. Okay? So kung hindi naman ganun yung set of facts, no? Then you start to doubt. Parang wala namang pagnanakaw o wala namang intent to gain in this given set of facts na sinasabing piracy. So, you start to doubt now. Baka hindi to piracy yung pinag-uusapan natin. So, you look elsewhere. So, that is the purpose, the driving force. The meaning is actually what is derived based on the language used. Ano yung literal interpretation na pwede mong ma-call out or ma-figure out, ma-pull out from the expression used. Okay? So, yun nga. Kanina, pinag-usapan natin yung piracy. Alam na natin yung purpose. It is to stop pirates in bodies of water. No? Ngayon, nakita mo yung word na water dito sa law on piracy. Hindi naman pwedeng yung water na yun, tubig mo sa timba. You cannot derive that meaning. Why? If you look at the purpose, it is to stop robbery. Therefore, the meaning that should be derived when water is used in the law on piracy should be navigable waters, where vessels go, no, to for passage. Go for passage, no? So these vessels, they go for passage there, however small or big they are. No? Those are the waters that we can derive to be meant by the law on piracy when it mentions the word water. Okay? So, that should be the meaning. Okay. So, we can look at one other scenario. No? Case in point is Paras versus Comelec. Now, in Paras versus Comelec, there was an issue. The barangay captain, I forgot what barangay he was, no? He was in. The electorate or the populace for yung barangay na nasasakupan niya actually filed for a petition for recall. Okay? And they filed it with the COMELEC, and the COMELEC would essentially rule on it and call for a recall election. Ano ba yung recall na yan? Essentially, pinapatanggal mo yung ininstill mo, ibinoto mong local government official. So, dito, nag-file yung mga nasasakupan ni Paras ng petition for recall election on the second year of his term of office. That is what Section 74B of RA 7160 provides. That a petition for recall election may be filed and the recall election may be had within the second year of the tenure of the subject official. Okay? Second year. Dito sa Paras versus Comelec, inabutan na yung petition niya ng, I think it's 5 months before the next SK elections. Take note ha, barangay captain si Paras. Tapos, nung nag-call ng recall election, it's 5 months before the next SK elections. Sabi ni Paras ngayon, bawal na yung recall election. Kasi yung recall election, hindi pwedeng mangyari within 1 year from the conduct of the next regular elections. And sabi niya, yung SK elections the SK elections is essentially a regular election based on the law creating the SK elections. No? Sabi ng Supreme Court, hindi tama yan. Yung sinasabi mo, niloloko mo kami. You are using an overly literal interpretation of the law or literal interpretation of 74B of RA 7160Y. Yung regular elections na sinasabi dyan, hindi kahit anong regular elections. It is the elections for which you may be the subject of an election. Hindi dahil lang ang SK regular election, yan yung sinasabi naming regular election. You have to take note that the purpose of the recall election under 74B of 7160 is basically to give the electorate a chance, no? A chance to recall you on the second year of your tenure while serving your term. In essence, ang sinasabi mo sa amin, dahil lang may regular elections for SK in the next year, kahit mas maiksi yun sa 3-year term, no? Or pumasok lang siya dun sa second term, sa second year, kahit hindi pa siya pumasok dun sa second year of your term, then prohibited na yung recall elections. Essentially, ang sinasabi mo sa amin, Mr. Paras, no? Basta may regular elections na mangyari, hindi ka na marirecall within 1 year. That is wrong. That regular elections pertained to by 74B of 7160 of RA 7160 should be treated or should be read to be the regular elections by which that certain government official can be re-elected or for the position of such elected local official. Okay? Kaya sabi dito, ang true meaning niyan, hindi pwedeng para ma-render inutile, inutile, no? inutil. Yung RA 7160 or yung Section 74B. Okay? So, you have to take note of the purpose. Binibigyan ng chance ang electorate para matanggal ka sa pwesto. Kasi ayaw namin sa'yo. Yun pala, after 1 year, nakita namin yung tunay mong kulay. So, binibigyan ng chance yung electorate, patanggal ka namin. At ang meaning yan, hindi lang any other regular election, kundi yung election kung saan ka napapabilang. Okay? Kasi kung mamaya biglang nagpatawag ng snap elections o kung ano mang klaseng election at sinabing regular election yon ng law, di wala na naman. Hindi ka na naman marirecall. That is not what the law means. It is not the intention of the framers. Therefore, na-dismiss yung petition ni Paras sa Supreme Court. Sabi, wala, hindi tama yung interpretation. Okay? So, what do we look at when we construe? When we construe the laws, we look at both the internal and the external element. Okay? So, internal, you look at the four corners of the law. The internal, titignan mo siya, anong gustong sabihin itong batas base sa sinasabi niya. Okay? So, you look at, tapos, sa external, dun sa internal, dun mo malalaman yung actual purpose. Yung actual purpose, yung actual meaning, kung ano ba talaga ang intent ng mga framers. Okay? Yung external purpose is, okay, ito na yung intent. Ito yung batas. Ang question sa external element, is the law sufficient to meet the demands of the intent? Okay? Is it sufficient to carry out what the law actually wants to carry out? Okay? Yun ang dapat na tanong when we construe. So, case in point, dito sa Manila Jockey Club versus GAB, no? Games and Amusements Board, ang sabi dito is, there was a question on kailan lang pwedeng pa-sweepstakes ata. Yun yung naalala ko, no? Kailan lang pwedeng magpa-sweepstakes. And essentially, ang sabi ng batas is, for these certain days, bawal mag-sweepstakes. Nung tinignan yung purpose ng batas ng Supreme Court, ang lumabas na intent ng framers of the law is, or the authors of the law, is gusto lang niya na on certain days, hindi dapat makapag-sweepstakes. Okay? Dahil merong event like a race, no? Essentially, ang sabi ng Supreme Court dito sa batas, hindi nami-meet ng wordings mo yung gusto mong palabasin. Therefore, you are confined by your actual wordings. Kahit ito pa ang intent mo, yung actual na words na ginamit mo, hindi niya makikarry out yun. So, limited lang. Okay? So, the Supreme Court can always say that, okay, sige, your interpretation, your intent is this, your purpose is this, ito ang spirit na gusto mong palabasin. However, your words do not suffice. Your expressions do not suffice. And therefore, we are limited by your actual enactment. Okay? Yun lang ang gustong sabihin ng Manila Jockey Club versus Games and Amusements Board. So, what is the best source of legislative intent? Pag ito ang tanong, huwag kayong titingin kahit saan. The best source is the law itself. I repeat, the best source of legislative intent is the law itself. Kung kaya kong ma-derive ang legislative intent without going outside of it, without going outside of the law, then that should be enough. Okay, that should be enough. The construction that should be derived from the law can actually be lifted, no? Be derived from the four corners, of the law. Okay? From the four corners of the statute. Next time, pag-uusapan natin yung extrinsic aids. External. Pero, bago ka pumunta sa external, you should try to construe within the four corners. Okay? So, kaya mapapansin nyo, pag nag-interpret ang Supreme Court ng batas in your cases, hindi ganun kadalas na pupunta sila sa deliberations ng Congress, sa actual na usapan ng mga senador, no? Hindi naman lahat ng decisions nyo may makikita kayong, this is what Senator Recto said, this is what Senator Osmeña said. Hindi ganun. Madalang, siguro madalas yung makikita yan sa political law. Pero it is not always the case. Why? As much as possible, it is the rule that construction is best derived from the four corners of the statute. Okay? So, in saying that, who has the power to construe? Answer, it is the duty, it is the exclusive province of the judiciary, the courts. Okay? The courts have the duty to construe. And no other. No other. However, ano ang limitation ng power niya to construe? The Supreme Court cannot construe in a vacuum. Hindi academic exercise ang pagpunta sa Supreme Court na para kang nagtatanong sa recitation or nagtatanong sa klase. Paano po pag ganito? That cannot be. As the Supreme Court will always say, you should present us with an actual justiciable controversy. An actual dispute. It cannot be an academic exercise. Okay? So the Supreme Court will not construe in a vacuum. It should always, the construction should always be derived as it is applied from a certain set of facts. Okay? Now, question, sir. Ibig nyo, kung sinasabi nyo ng Supreme Court may construction, exclusive power ng Supreme Court ang construction, yung other branches, wala silang power to construe. Of course, they can construe. Okay? But, their construction is not above the Supreme Court's. And the Supreme Court can actually strike down their construction. Okay? Case in point. In Serrano versus Galant Maritime, no? Section 10 of the Migrant Workers Act, the original Migrant Workers Act, 8042, provided a provision there, no, in Section 10, or a clause there provided na in case of removal of an overseas Filipino worker, they have a right to separation pay equivalent to at least 3 months worth of salary or the remainder of their contract, whichever is lower. So sabi ng mga empleyado, teka, dati hindi ganyan. Dati, kapag natanggal ka tapos entitled ka sa separation pay, yung unexpired portion ng contract babayaran. Bakit ngayon may ganyan? So pumunta sila sa Supreme Court. Essentially, the Supreme Court said that Section 10, the construction that was derived by the Supreme Court on Section 10 of the Migrant Workers Act was that it was unconstitutional. It clashed against the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution. Okay? In summary, that's how the Supreme Court decided on the case. So, promulgate na si Serrano versus Galant Maritime. Unconstitutional daw si Section 10, RA 8042. Here comes RA 10022, which is actually an expansion or introducing amendments to the Migrant Workers Act. And it reinstated the actual wordings under Section 10 of RA 8042. Inulit nila kung ano na yung unang in-strike down ng Supreme Court. Sabi ng Supreme Court, you cannot do that. What has already been construed or deemed as unconstitutional, you cannot just simply say, hindi, ito ang ano namin, legal yan. Re-enact namin. You cannot do that. The court will strike that down again. And that's what they did in Samir versus Cabiles. They struck down the reinstated provisions from Section 10 of RA 8042 in RA 10022. Okay? Same principle because it is in violation of the Equal Protection Clause. Okay? Now question. So sir, kung ganon, yung construction ng Supreme Court, perpetual na yun. The answer is no. It is not perpetual. It can always be abandoned or modified. Sino mag-abandon? The Supreme Court itself can overturn its earlier construction or abandon its earlier construction or modify its earlier construction. And this has happened in numerous cases. Case in point, Conchita Carpio Morales versus CA, no? Ito yung nung naging ombudsman na si Ombudsman Carpio Morales coming from the Supreme Court. Dati siyang Associate Justice, naging ombudsman siya, and then ito yung kinasuhan yung mga binay. And then sabi ng mga binay, oh wait, that's yung administrative case against us was already pardoned based on the condonation doctrine or the Aguinaldo doctrine. The Supreme Court said essentially that the Aguinaldo doctrine is based on an outdated perception of the political landscape, no? And essentially abandoned it. Wala nang condonation doctrine. Okay? Also, in Republic versus Manalo, this is your mixed marriages. Ang unang interpretation ng Supreme Court on mixed marriages under Article 26 of the Family Code is that it should be the alien spouse who should initiate the divorce proceedings before it can come within the purview of Article 26 and can be considered as a cognizable divorce here in the Philippines. That was the regime laid out in Republic versus Orbisido III. Sabi ng Supreme Court, no? Years later in Republic versus Manalo, that's wrong. Parang hindi tama yung pagkaka-decide natin doon. Let's look. Sabi, that construction was essentially unfair to the Filipino spouse who is still bound by the marriage while the foreign spouse is free to roam around and look for another spouse. No? So sa mata natin, tong Filipino spouse kasal pa, pero yung asawa niya pwede na maghanap ng iba. Parang mali. 'Di ba? So sabi sa Republic versus Manalo, the Filipino spouse can now initiate. Okay? Can now initiate, and that is a valid, that can be considered as having validly obtained a divorce decree under Article 26 of the Family Code, which is recognizable here in the Philippines. Okay? Now, let me emphasize, in construction of laws, you cannot construe where there is no ambiguity. When there is no ambiguity, what is left to do is to implement the law. Okay? This is basically derived from the verba legis rule, or as I said, the expanded maxim would be verba legis non est residendum, which was actually derived from another maxim, index animis sermo est. Speech is the index of intention. Basically, what it's saying is, kung ano yung expression na nandyan, yun na yung intention na dapat nating makita. Yung speech or yung expression na naandyan, yun yung intention. Huwag nyo nang tignan yung iba. Okay? Now, there are some rules that stem from the verba legis rule. One of them would be your expressio unius est exclusio alterius, or it says what the law does not include, it excludes. Oh, wala dyan. Ibig sabihin, hindi kasama. Basic, di ba? Hindi nilagay ng batas when the authors or the legislators could have easily included it, then they must have intended not to include it. Hindi kasama. Okay? Also, there is your ut magis valeat quam periat, no? Provisions of the this is a specific application in the Constitution, no? Provisions of the Constitution must be read as a whole. No one provision must be read separate from the whole. Di mo pwedeng sabihin, ito lang yan. Ito lang, independent to. No. You have to read it in its proper context, which is the whole of the Constitution. Okay? So, that would be my lecture for today. Hopefully, that was enlightening. And I will see you around for another lecture on statutory construction. Hopefully for the next chapter. Okay? Thank you.